Golden Wall once again at the top of the mountain.
飛ばして切り返すがバースがさあマンゴー苦しいこれ玉抜けにするが
Hello, hello. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. This is going to be the first series on exploring the FGC with the one and only Pinku. Pinku, how are you doing today?
Okay. How are you?
Good as well, good as well. I just, have the honor of having you here. We're going to, go over a few questions that I have for you as well as, just talk about maybe your background with the FGC and all that. Depending on how everyone's stories are, it's going to be fun.
Sounds exciting.
Alright, and the first one that I mainly have here that I was just really curious about, what was your first official fighting game?
Okay. Well, so the first fighting game that I think I ever played was probably, I want to say it was like USF4 or Guilty Gear Accent Core, like the original Accent Core. I know that like, okay, because I'm trying to think, because I bought both of them around the same time. Obviously, I was awful at both of them because I didn't know anything. But I'm gonna say, I'll just say Accent Core because I'm pretty sure that was the one that I actually like consistently played and like attempted to get better at. Although it was kind of scuffed because like at this rate, I didn't know anything about like Guilty Gear as a series, so I just like, was like looking at videos for it and everything, and I had to like secondhand order a copy of it for like PS2. So I'm pretty sure it was like one or two versions behind whatever was current. But I'll just say Accent Core because I'm pretty sure that that would be the best answer. As far as tournament play, Blaze Blue.
Blaze Blue. That is definitely interesting. A first game being arguably one of the hardest is pretty crazy. Like most people would say like, maybe Soul Calibur 2. I've heard that a lot. Or something along the lines of like, maybe like a Mortal Kombat. But for Guilty Gear right off the bat, woof, that sounds intense.
It's the aesthetic of it. And like in like hindsight, like obviously I didn't know like a lot about it. I just like found it fun. I thought like the complexity was interesting. And I don't know, like execution didn't really like become that much of like a factor until like much later. Just I guess because like I had such like a strong foundation for just like the execution barrier of gear in general.
Oh, that's
So
really interesting. Not bad, not bad. And would you say, rough little estimate, how long you think you've been playing fighting games in general?
So I know for certain that I didn't start going to events until I want to say I think I was like 16 or something like that. I had played Blaze Blue probably since I was like 14 or 15, and then at like 16 there was a person that I knew named Sonidi, and I had just got my driver's license. And he lived like in the next town over and was like, oh, do you want to come over and play like the new Blaze Blue? And like this was like, it was like incredibly weird for me because I was just like, oh god, I never thought like I should actually be going and like seeing people like in person.
Yeah,
But I guess to like answer your question directly, about like 10 years.
10 years. Wow. Who'd you play in Blaze Blue?
When I first started playing the game, I played Rachel in CS2, and then CSCX came out, and I think I played Lychee, and then Carl, and then
Okay.
I think I switched characters pretty much every version, but Lychee and Carl for CSCX, and then I think in CF, which is the most recent one, I play 9.
9. Oh my goodness, all these big brain characters. I was only able to handle Terumi when I was playing, so.
I had a lot of time to get used to it, so that might have something to do with it.
That's fair, that's fair. And the next question I have is, was Carmine your original main in Uni?
No. When I first, like, I had, like, a period of time that I played in EL. I wasn't, like, good, but I played Hilda, and played in a few, like, little tournaments. and then when ST came out, I played it very briefly at the beginning, again playing Hilda, and then I dropped the game, and then randomly, like 8 of my friends got back into it, and then I got back into it, and then like I was like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if I just like learned Batista for fun? Haha, wouldn't that be funny? And then I did that for a year, and then the pandemic, or as I like to call it, the Great Panini happened, and I was like, okay, well I'm bored again because I can't go to tournaments, so I'll just learn something else, and then I learned Carmine.
Wow, so Carmine's kind of fairly recent, even from like when I was asking you about Carmine questions.
Yeah, I think I started actually taking the character seriously sometime around like June of like 2020, and
Ah.
then but like before that, it was like the same mindset where it's just like, ha, wouldn't it be funny if I learned this like overly complicated character? Wouldn't that just be so funny for laughs? And then it like I just like realized like, oh, this is no longer funny. I've invested many hours into this.
Yeah, that's definitely Carmine.
Yeah.
Next question I have is have you ever traveled out to compete and or learn? If so, where and how was your experience?
So I've only traveled to, I think, 2 places to my knowledge. One of them, I guess the furthest I've ever traveled was Chicago.
Mhm.
I went to Frosty Fausting's 2020, which, like, I always think is like so funny because I always think I went in 2019 because again, this is like February of 2020, like 1 month like before like
Yeah.
actual pandemic. Um, and like that was like actually I think to my knowledge the last like major tournament that like happens like for you know a long while.
Mhm.
But I went to Chicago. I had a wonderful time. I really enjoyed it. Um, and I went with a couple other uni players. It was really fun. And then I've been to Evo a few times and had mostly good experiences.
I feel like from everyone that's part of the FGC and stuff, like a big experience everyone needs like to experience basically is traveling out to Chicago, whether it be like my personal experience with Chicago was Combo Breaker. But I've heard a lot of like great stuff from Frosty as well, and just like how whether it be like learning from people or just just seeing everyone get together, like Chicago's definitely, I haven't really heard bad stuff when it comes to the events from Chicago.
No, and like what I think is like especially funny is that I didn't know like many of like the East Coast like uni players
Hmm.
until like I got back from Chicago because I started like hanging out with people in like the Northeast like French bread server. So it's like it's so funny because it's like I leave Chicago, I make all these friends in Chicago, and then it's like, oh, now I can't go back. Okay, well that sucks.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like because I wasn't on the same boat, but it was more along the lines of like, I went to Combo Breaker. I competed, I performed well, and like with that, I brought back like so many, not only like memories, but like new people to hang out with and people to talk to. And I was like,
Yeah.
like Chicago events are definitely amazing. It's so insane.
Yeah. I kind of just like I was like I guess I'm still a college student, but I was like at the beginning of my master's program at the time, so I was like really poor and I was like really sad because I was like, oh, I hope I can afford to like do all the touristy things that I wanted to do, which basically was I wanted deep dish pizza. Um so that
That's
was the one
fair.
thing I managed to accomplish while I was there. That was like touristy.
Unfortunate. I guess along the lines of like the same question. Once everything like when it does like fully lift up and everything, do you plan on maybe like traveling out for like I don't know the new Melty Blood that's coming out or anything along those lines or?
Um I want to. I would be really excited to. It's just like for me it's like one, I have to make sure I like the game. No sense in like traveling for something that I hate.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that I'll like it. I actually play like a lot of Actress Again, current code, the older
Yeah.
like one, through Parsec with people a lot, or not Parsec, sorry, Caster.
Mhm.
And it's been really fun learning that. So based on that experience, I'm sure that I'll like it. But if I don't, then I won't travel. But hesitantly, yes, I will probably be traveling for that.
That's fair. That's fair. And like say those that one doesn't go well, is there any other new fighting games that are coming out that you're excited for, whether it be like KOF 15 or anything along those lines, or
Uh, KOF is one of those games that I've always observed from a distance because I've never really like committed to it. I'm like kind of looking at KOF footage as if might be interesting. Um, I don't know. I mean, the other possibility is that they release a character that really fits my vibe and strive, but I'm not certain that'll happen. There's too many like core gameplay elements that I disagree with. I know the Dungeon Fighter, like, what is it? Fighting game is like on the Arxis back burner until further notice, so maybe
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that as well. As
Yeah.
and then I know everyone's like thinking that the new DLC for Strive that's gonna be coming out is gonna be Slayer, and I was like, that would be cool. I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't keep up with the scene. I don't know. There's like a lot of reasons that I would imagine it wouldn't be, but I wouldn't mind being wrong, I guess.
Yeah, that is also true. And I guess my last question, this is more of like for me as well, just because you helped me out a lot with my Carmine as well. Do you have any advice for those who want to pick up Carmine, or like maybe like stuff that isn't really brought up when it comes to like talking Carmine or learning him or wanting to
Yeah. So I guess it's two things. One, like, don't beat yourself up. The character is like hard. I would say out of every character that I've played across every like fighting game, like doing some things with that character probably sits in my like top 3 of just like most difficult. And then on top of him being executionally hard, the character is exceptionally bad at playing like things like grid. So I think when people like start the game and play him, they kind of have like a warped mindset of like how they're supposed to approach it. One thing that I'm like kind of thankful for is that I played other characters first before him, because then I got to understand like, because he's incredibly good at like mind games, but like you have to like know what the mind games are in order for them to be like effective.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't understand grid cycle, you wouldn't throw like, a B wheel or something so it whiffs on someone, so they would try to steal cycle back with like a shield and then you would throw them for it. Like, you have to be like very aware of like what you're doing, and that's like kind of hard, especially since like, again, like if a newer person is just like trying to learn like, buttons, it can be like kind of difficult to like put those sort of like tactics into effect. Yeah, I guess like again, main things: don't beat yourself up. Be open to the idea of learning, and grid cycle is hard to win, but you can do it. You just have to like, unfortunately, think harder than most people.
I definitely can like second that part as well, because the first character I did pick up in uni was Carmine, but after sitting back for a bit and messing around with Akatsuki, trying to like understand the actual neutral of the game. After doing that, there was some scenarios where like, I went back to Carmine, and some of like my, I guess, concepts, as well as like, really honestly just concepts of like how the game works, really made my Carmine exceed.
Yeah.
And stuff along those lines, because some of the stuff is incredibly hard, and be it most people get thrown off by the whole concept of your special moves, you're already losing health for doing combos and stuff.
Yeah, and that's like another thing. It's like that doesn't really like change even at like a high level, because like people like once you get to a certain point and it's like, oh, Carmine, and then that becomes like, oh, it's Carmine. Like, it's like people really change how they like approach certain matchups. Like, there's a SoCal LNA player I play called Captain Sugar, where like he would lose to me a lot, and he's like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And I'm like, literally block. I'm like, just block. I'm spending health to attempt to do anything to you, and I don't. And I'm like, I don't even get any good mix up on your character other than like a gimmicky side swap. Like, just block. And he's like, okay, fine. And his win rate went up, and he's like, wow, that's incredible. Why am I winning so much more? And I'm like, because I'm spending half my HP bar to
To
attempt
try to
to
open
make
you up.
to attempt to make you do something and on a character that I can't do anything like significant to outside of like normal like interactions.
Mhm.
So it's just like yeah, you get to a certain point where like people start to realize like the flaws in the character. Like he's not bad, but he's definitely flawed, especially against people that understand him.
Mhm. Yeah, I think because that's exactly what was my problem when not like this is before I messed with Akatsuki and picked him up was I would poke with like 6B and I was like I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I should be poking with like actual pokes, and it definitely taught me to be like a lot more careful with like either ending strings and specials that cost life or like I said just trying to poke with like so instead of like 6B every now and then I'll just poke with the BC, the puddle he just spawns, because like that doesn't cost health. There's it's weird how many things you have to go about like scenario wise, as well as I haven't really like I saw you were using it in some of the tournament footage. I still haven't like found optimal ways to use the anti-air version of 6B. And I know that you were like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I know you were like anti-airing and then like converting off of it by doing 6B again into the spike and everything. So that's stuff I definitely need to check out as well. But like when I was watching it, I was like, that is insane. Like,
Yeah, that move is a good and a bad move in that you can only convert off of it with counter hit for the most
really?
part. Yeah, because if you hit them with it, they're basically in fall state until they hit the floor.
Hmm.
But if you normal hit them with it, you can only do 6 BB, and then the routes become a lot like weirder off of that.
Gosh, and I'm sure that's where like execution kind of comes into play as well when you have like really awkward scenarios like that.
Yeah, there's like so much obnoxious nuance to that character. I mean, I think the rewarding part of playing him is that like you can kind of do anything. Like there aren't like set routes per se. It's just like what do you want to do? Like, do you want to put a bomb in the middle of the fucking? Oh, sorry. Do you want to put a bomb in the middle
No,
of
you're
the?
good. You're good.
You want to put a bomb in the middle of the combo, and then do you want Oki afterwards? What kind of Oki do you want? Do you want 2-2-C Oki or regular Oki? Well, then you don't need the bomb if you're doing 2-2-C Oki. You just set that up. So it's like you can kind of just do whatever you want. It's very free form. It's just like you have to like adhere to like the rules of the character in like your combo structure, and that can be like really annoying because some of those rules are like needlessly specific.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
no, it's he's a book and a half. Whew. I can tell
yeah.
you that. Yeah, especially from like it's so funny too, cause like I'll play and I'll be like, yeah, I think I know him, and then like just watching the footage you showed me, I was like, oh yikes, no, I don't.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty confident, and then I watch like anything that Notes has ever like recorded, and I'm like, I know nothing. Like I know literally nothing about what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's
apparently, like that's like a normal feeling because Spinach, who's like probably the best NA Carmine, says exactly the same thing. It's like I watch Notes and I feel like I know nothing. I'm like, okay, good. Like I'm happy that that is a
it's
mutual feeling.
mutual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, but those are all the questions I have for you. Right now, I can't really think of anything else. I do appreciate you coming on. Helping out with everything as well as just making all this happen. Very appreciative. For
Yeah, no
those
problem.
for those who want to see more of his footage and stuff, I'll definitely drop his Twitch links and YouTube and everything with his permission, of course. Everything at the bottom where it explains everything, and I really appreciate this. This was really really fun.
Thank you. I was happy to do it. No one's asked me about uni in a while, so I had to remind myself a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely. Unis definitely can be a handful at times. So I really really
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, and everyone that stopped by, really appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Be safe. Take care, and see ya.